Well, hello there. I'm Tracy Resch-Williams, business coach and consultant for Alaska Tracy. Businesses work with me that are seeking calmness, clarity, and prosperity. Using my vision mapping framework, I guide them on their journey to success. On this podcast, you can enjoy hearing inspirational stories of success, as well as business tips and tools that you can actually use. So thanks for joining in. And please remember, click the subscribe button, invite your friends, and leave a comment. Thank you. Hello, welcome to Alaska Tracy podcast. I'm thrilled that you are here today. We have a very special guest, Deb Denker. That's Denker. And her business is Unlimited Fervor. That's F as in Frank, E-R, V Victor, O-R, Fervor, career coaching. And you can reach Deb, unlimitedfervor.com. And I looked up the word fervor before our interview. And fervor stands for intense and passionate. And Deb is intense and passionate about helping people to reach their goals and to live a fulfilled life, to be empowered by their careers. She has helped me as a coach as well. And I'm thrilled for you to listen to Deb's story and hear some of her tips and tools for helping you to live a life that is filled with intense passion. So let's give Deb a warm welcome. Well, hello, Deb. Welcome to Alaska Tracy podcast. Thank you so much for joining me here in Anchorage, Alaska. And you are in Wisconsin today.
I am in Mount Morris, Wisconsin, very small little lake area in the middle of the state of Wisconsin. But thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure.
Fun. We were showing each other the views before I hit record, and you are in sunshine today. I'm in 15 degrees with snow around me.
Yes. So thankfully, no snow yet. We get plenty in Wisconsin, and right now, thankfully, it's just a beautiful fall day.
Oh, good. So, Deb, I really would like to know how you got to where you're at today as a career coach, sort of what your trajectory was along the way to get exactly where you're at today. So can we go back?
Yeah, absolutely. So I like to connect the dots geographically also. So I'm just going to start there. So I'm one of 5 kids, and I was born and raised in the Midwest. Started out in Illinois, then moved to Wisconsin for high school and college. Then shortly after college, moved to Minneapolis. I started working for a consulting firm called Accenture. They were Anderson Consulting at the time, but I worked for them for 6 years in Minneapolis and in Chicago. And then from Chicago, I went to Iowa for about 10 years, then to San Francisco, then to Colorado, and now back to Wisconsin.
Oh my gosh.
I know it's kind of wacky, but each one of them really played a part in who I am and how I got here. And I think that there's all sorts of different reasons why it was the right time and the right decision to move. But yeah, it's always really interesting. I think when you think about it. So
right.
Absolutely. So as I mentioned, I was working for Accenture. I graduated from college with a degree in organizational communication. So really focused on training and development, organizational design. What do you want your business to look like? Like, how can we help make it, successful? How do we do reorganizations and industrial psychology and all of those things? Loved that entire, that whole study of things. And but went into all sorts of different areas, which really got me into working for Accenture, and did that. I was part of the internal team, so kind of managing the consultants that were all over the country and all over the world, really. And that's really my first really in-depth work as a career development coach. That was the biggest thing. My role and responsibility truly was to understand where people were right then and where they needed to go in order to get further into their career, and then also where they wanted to go. And a lot of times that where they wanted to go and where they needed to go were different. And especially in the consulting world with travel and family and all sorts of things. But the opportunity was amazing. I ended up, like I said, moving to Chicago and worked in a national position with the company, and truly just had an amazing time. But decided that I was going to be going from a national position. They moved all national into a more local position, and I really wanted something different. And so I decided I'm going to try to see what else is out there. And so I did. I left, and went out there and found a position working for a marketing firm. Very, very creative, lots of graphic designers and copywriters, totally different than the tech world of the consulting firm. But I loved it. And once again, same issues, same things. People were skilled and experienced in one thing, but they had lost their light of really what made them light up. And so whenever there were performance issues, it was like, I hate my job. I don't like what I'm doing. And I did more and more research and found that when we do what we love, we do really good work. And the opposite is also true. When we aren't doing what we love, we don't always do our best work. We can maybe phone it in for a while, but our true self comes forward. And when there's performance issues, generally one of the first things that I do is talk about, do you like what you're doing? And 99.8% people say, I hate it. I don't like it. I wanted to work with people. I'm not working with people anymore, or I'm too far away from the client, or just all sorts of things. So anyway, so that was a clue. That was something I picked up, a breadcrumb, and worked for two different companies in Chicago. There was a lot of economic uncertainty. So I was in a relationship at the time, and he and I really wanted to be closer to our families. And so we decided to really kind of simplify and move to Dubuque, Iowa, which is right on the river in Iowa. And in our backyard, you could see Wisconsin. In the front yard, you could see Illinois.
Oh,
and
wow.
We were in Iowa. So it was really cool. It was just this cool little tri-state area, beautiful historic home. And it was great. I worked for a local company and really developed their HR, all of their HR structure. And again, really found me coaching more and more and more. So anyway, so I did that for about 10 years. And then I went, we went our own ways. And so I decided, Deb, you're 48. What do you want to do with the rest of your life? And I thought, I think that there's more for me than just the Midwest. I've always wanted to live in California. So while I was working in Iowa, I was working for this family-owned oil company, and I really had kind of carved out a niche for myself in that, and really knew a lot of people in our industry. And so I reached out to someone that I had networked with at a meeting, and I said, hey, do you know any opportunities? And she said, I have one.
Oh my gosh.
And yeah. And so I had already planned a week-long vacation. So I went for fun and ended up having lunch with her. And then the next day going back and meeting her team. And before I left to come back, I had a job offer. And it was truly one of those things where I had documented every time I had hit kind of a speed bump in my career or in my life, I would journal And I would write down a list of like, if I could go anywhere, where would it be? And San Francisco was always on my list. And so it was just further just confirmation that when the job came to me that quickly and it was something that I could do, that it was the right thing. So I did it and went out there, basically sold a lot of what I had and lived with a friend for a little bit and then moved, to my own place. And I ended up being in California for about four years or so. And loved it. Loved so much about it. It was in Northern California. So beautiful, beautiful area. Lots of just fun, going to the ocean all the time. And just, it was really, really special time. And at one point I had left the oil company that recruited me. I was working as the HR director for for California's Great America, which is an amusement park, right? Oh. So I got to work with Snoopy and Charlie Brown and, the whole gang, which was a blast. Mm-hmm. And it was really fun to go to work in an organization that our job was to help our customers make memories. And that was such an amazing experience for me to be part of an organization that was really about family and experiences. And I loved it. I really, really enjoyed it a lot. And had a blast. But it was a really tough commute. If you know the Bay Area is known for commutes that are pretty crazy. And I think my worst commute was a little over 3 hours one day.
Oh my gosh.
Yes. Driving one way. Oh. And I think my best was like 47 minutes. Oh. So it just kept getting longer and longer. And, it generally was about 2 hours. And I'm like, this isn't sustainable. It's not, not only am I giving 4 hours of my time, but my health, my frame of mind. It's not like when you're driving, you can't really do a lot of multitasking. Yes, you can read books. You can car dance, which I did plenty of. You can call friends on the phone, but you can't just put the car, no, you can't put the car in auto drive and get out and walk or get some exercise or whatever. So my health was suffering, mental health, physical health, and I just really needed something closer. It was a difficult decision to make, but I actually accepted a position with Amazon and worked for Amazon in one of their very biggest and first, like they're in a big fulfillment center. So there's about 2,500 employees.
Oh my gosh.
Yes. So, and I was one of the senior HR leaders at the location. We had new employees coming all of the time, as you can imagine, and just lots of activity. And one of the biggest things is that we had, a pretty big group of like entry-level managers that either came to us from promotion, came to us from college, and they would there was a huge turnover. And I really tried to work with a lot of them, again, in that career development space. Like, what do you really want? And so many just were like this, I don't know what I want, but this is not it. And, Amazon is an amazing organization to work for on so many levels, but I do think it takes a certain person and a certain time in their life. I did find some similarities between working for like an Accenture and working for Amazon, just in attracting really amazing talent, but also expecting really expecting so much that it's difficult to have that balance or really a focus on anything outside of work. At least it was for me. So I was in California working for Amazon, And we had just a family health crisis. My mom had fallen and broken a hip. And it made me think like, wow, I'm out here by myself. If something happened, I have amazing friends, but I really want to be closer to family. And so I started to pursue that opportunity, just opportunities with Amazon. And I found an opportunity. We were building a location in Denver, a new facility. And so I really wanted to start a new facility. I wanted to launch, that's what we call them, launch a new building, go from 0 employees to 2,500, and knew that was going to be a challenge, but was really up for it. And so I did that. I had a brother and sister-in-law in Colorado. I did that and ended up working for Amazon there in Colorado for about a year and a half. And that's really when things started to significantly change. So I'm just going to take a quick sip of water.
Okay. As you were giving people career advice, I'm thinking you were taking your own advice, right? Like the more you were telling people things, the more your heart was maybe going,
Absolutely. And especially towards the end, at Amazon, I kept thinking, okay, what would I really like to do? What do I really want to do? Or how do I want to spend my days even at work? And I was doing more and more analytics and less interacting with the employees, with the managers. And I took some time off after the holidays. And so this is late January of 2020. No idea that there's a pandemic looming in the distance. But I decided, you know what? I'm so burned out, working 17, 18-hour days, not really, just truly being absolutely exhausted. I'm going to take a month off and decide what I want to do. And after about 3 weeks of sleep and interaction with family, I started to feel what it was like to be myself again and realized how far I had come from really being who I was at the core. And that's when I made a phone call to a coach that I saw online somewhere. And she asked me some questions. And I was like, no, I want to be on your side of the table. I want to do what you're doing, is what I was thinking. And so I decided to leave, a very lucrative position, and do that and start my own deal. And a lot of people said it was, very brave and all of those things. I really looked at it as it was just survival. And I'm so grateful that I listened to my own advice, like you said.
And then that's where I got to meet Deb and beg her to work with me as a coach. You as my coach. That is. What happens during those times when your head, people either get this or they don't. My head often wants to kill me, right? What happens on those days where it's a struggle or, you're just thinking, what am I doing? How do you pivot? How do you stay the path?
I think it's a great question, really great question. And I think especially when you're used to working in an organization or for organizations that have a lot of structure, you work, at 8:00 every morning and then, blah, blah, blah. And now no one's asking me what my schedule is, right? But there were a few things that during that month off prior to resigning from Amazon, that I just really sought what was inside. And so I did things like journal and started a gratitude, process. I started meditating of just trying to actually clear my mind. I got much closer spiritually to God, and that was super incredibly important for me. And started doing more, some more activity, just movement physically, like some stretching, some yoga, walking, things like that. And And I think through all of that, I just developed some pretty strong habits of just a lot of awareness, self-awareness, I think is probably the biggest benefit. So I made a really connected the dots in when I do these practices, I feel great. And when I don't, or conversely, when I start to feel not so great, it makes me check in and say, have I done these practices? And almost always it's no, you've been coasting on your gratitude, or you haven't gotten on, the bike, or you just haven't been doing those things. And so, I bang my head on the wall and say, girl, like, how long will this take for you to realize that that is really critical? And so I've just become better and better at that, at just starting off the day with a really tight meaning, like 2 or 3 things. I have like 5 in my little bag of tricks, but I usually say, okay, I'm going to do 3 of the 5 every morning. So whether it's gratitude or reading my declarations or biking or meditating or praying, which are different for me. But anyway, I do 3 of the 5, and I make sure that I do all of them every week. But when I can do 3, it's like, okay, my head is on straight, and I'm able to crush the day. One of the things that I say a lot is what you focus on expands. And you've heard me say that a ton. And I just really focus on trying to answer the question, like, what can I do for my clients today? Who do I need to talk to? Like, there's someone out there who hates their job, absolutely hates their job, and doesn't know what to do. And if I could just get on a call with them and listen, and then say, how about this or that? Sometimes they end up working with me, sometimes they don't, but they always walk away with some clarity. And also with a little hope of realizing, oh my gosh, it's not just me. And that is why I do what I do, really, because I was pretty lost. Yeah.
That's wonderful. I love that. And when people get into business, I know from my experience and those that I get to work with, that we think it should be happening faster.
Oh, patience.
Yes.
Right? Yeah. It's so wild, because I think that we are wired for outcomes. We're wired for success. We're wired for, like, we want to see proof of that every day. We want to see, output. And I think, judge our output a lot of times with dollar signs, because that's the currency that we understand, right? But there's so many other outputs that we have, or that we do, that interaction with someone online or over the phone or on Zoom, where they walked away and, like, we impacted their day,
right?
Like that, and we turned it around. And did we get, specific currency for that? No, but we filled ourselves, as well as confirmed we're on the right path.
Right.
And the more I can feel aligned and help my clients feel aligned with what they're doing, there's just, in my experience, there's just more abundance on the other side of that clarity, of just making sure that we're really moving towards what we're really wired for. And I think the patience goes along with, I just shake my head sometimes thinking, all these lessons that we learn every day, I'm done learning. I learned it.
Right.
But that's not the way it goes.
Right. So, last question, Deb, how do you define success in your own life? And I often ask this question, and people pivot it back to how they define it in the clients that they work with's lives. How do you define success in your life?
How I define success in my life is is really how I measure it is really the relationships that I have. And, I truly feel that I can open up my gratitude journal and write and fill an entire page every time I open it. And to me, that's success of just living in the moment, being grateful for what I do have, and then having dreams that will help push me and goals. And I just feel like it's a cycle. So, having healthy, listening, like really being self-aware and knowing like, hey, you didn't do your routine this morning. That's why you feel a funk. You better like get at it now, do it now. I think that discipline and all of those things are things that I measure. And when I feel like at the end of the week, like, hey, how was it? Or at the end of the day, I really define it as, have I been able to, I guess, honor myself and my gifts and help others? And if I've been able to do those things, then I feel like it's been a really successful week.
Nice. I love that. And how can people find you to work with you?
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's in the show notes as well.
Okay, great. Well, I am on all sorts of social. So let me tell you, TikTok, Pinterest, Facebook, Instagram, all as unlimitedfervor.com. So let me just spell that, just unlimited, and then FERVOR. Fervor is, the way I define fervor is it's passion with action to it. So, we think about fervently singing with a lot of passion. And that's really where the inspiration for Unlimited Fervor came from, is I felt very inspired to live with passion and take action. So
I love that.
Yeah, unlimitedfervor.com. And I have, the website and then all the social channels as well.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing your story with us and providing some tips and tools on staying motivated and keeping going.
Absolutely. It's been an incredible pleasure, and it's been just amazing getting to know people like you. So I feel incredibly, incredibly fortunate. So,
thanks, Deb.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody, for listening to today's episode. Remember to click the subscribe button, share with your friends, leave a comment, connect with Deb. She would love to hear from you. All right. Thanks, everyone. Until next episode. See you.